The snapshots can also be integrated into EOS cues. So as you step through your cues, you can have Augmented change its perspective to be wherever you want to be for that particular scene. So if in Act 2 you've got that really complicated look from the side, you want to make sure you're looking from that different perspective. We can natively build that into your cue stack. All right, we've added some objects to our scene. We've learned how to fly around. We haven't talked about the most important thing yet. That's the lights. That's why we're all here. So let's jump into Patch for a second and take a look. Inside of Patch, when I select a new channel, I now have a new augmented tab. And this is going to give me the ability to set all of my XYZ position and orientation objects. So I can come in here and I can say, great, this is at 6 feet off the deck, 7 feet, whatever I want. You can type in all this information manually. When I'm done, I'm going to jump back into Live, go to Augmented, and as soon as I put in any of that information, it automatically adds the fixture in. That's all we have to do from inside the Patch. Now, I can go and edit, I can select this, I can use all of those tools that we were using before to move them around, rotate them, and place them. Now, as I'm working through this is great if I have a couple of little fixtures I want to put in, but we all know that rigs are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I don't want to have you sit there and type in information for every single fixture in your rig. So we've got a couple of tools to help with that. The first one is if you are working in Vectorworks, we are natively supporting an export from Vectorworks to tell us exactly where your fixtures are. So we'll bring over all of the channel information, the patch, the mode, and its XYZ position and orientation. So if you haven't already drafted, we'll bring that directly into Augmented. If you're not working in Vectorworks, or if, like my files get wrong all the time, I get into space, it's not quite in the right place, we have another tool we've added. So I'm going to grab some fixtures here, turn them on, hopefully I don't blind anybody, and I'm going to put them in a couple of focus palettes. So what this tool is doing, we're calling it Fixture Position Estimator, or FPE, because we love our acronyms. Basically what it allows you to do is pick 4 positions in your venue. Pretty much any 4 positions as long as there's no more than 2 in a straight line. Pick those 4 positions, take all of your lights, focus them on the first one. Record that as a palette. Second one, third one, fourth one. Record 4 really quick, easy focus palettes. Now, inside of my model, you'll notice that inside of this place, I've put these little reference points. So you're going to tell us where those 4 positions you saved were. Put those into those places, and we're going to run our calculation, and we will extrapolate and calculate where all of your fixtures are in an XYZ space, including orientation and rotation, to be able to find it. So come in real fast, grab all your fixtures, and play. So we talked about getting our fixtures in here, and when I first introduced this, I called this a 3D programming tool. And that's a slight bit different than a visualizer. In a visualizer, you're going to spend all of your time trying to get that perfect photorealistic representation of your space. And that's fantastic. But a 3D programming tool allows me to take my lights and say I want them right here. So anything that has been added to your object now becomes a target that I can focus on. I can place them wherever I want. So I can move that around, I can say I want it up over here, put all of these fixtures anywhere I need and have full control over them. Now, when we start getting to talk about things like people, this gets a little bit more complicated. I am not in my scene. I cannot then click on me and say focus on me. But I can click on my feet, and I've gotten pretty good at that. But we very rarely focus on people's feet. We want to focus on their chest or on their face. So we've added some tools to help you with that. The first one allows me to set a virtual height. So I'm holding down my mouse button here, and I'm just scrolling my wheel, and that is allowing me to set a virtual height that I want to focus. From now on, whenever I click and move, it's going to use that. You can see that little dotted line going from that point that you clicked on, offsetting into that virtual Z height. Now, I did this manually. You can also go and say, great, focus at 4.5 feet, focus at 3 feet, whatever you want. This does take into account any object that is inside your scene. So if I click on the floor here, it's going to offset from the floor. If I click on my stage, it's going to offset from my stage. So it does behoove you to try and add as many platforms or levels into your space as possible. They don't have to be fully detailed. They could just be a cube that's this high. Whatever you want, as long as you get those locations, you know where you want to offset from. Taking a look at some of our other tools, first one I'm going to show you is called Stick Beams. And what Stick Beams does is draws a line from the gate of the fixture down to wherever it's intersecting whatever object it is in the scene, helping you keep an eye on exactly where all your beams are in a space. Now, my favorite thing about Stick Beams is that they don't require intensity. So So I can turn these off, I can still see exactly what fixtures. Notice I have a couple of different modes I can put here. I can see it for all of my fixtures, just my movers, selected, active, all sorts of sort of different rules there. Once it's off now, I still have it selected. I can move it around, place it wherever I want, and bring that back up in that location. So giving us that ability to always keep track of our lights regardless of whether they're on or not. Building off that a little bit more, we've got a number of label options. So we'll turn on a couple of these. We've got the ability to put them at our fixtures. We also have the ability to put that at a mid-beam point. We're trying to take a stab at solving the age-old question of what light is that? Where is it coming from? Who's actually controlling it? Now, all of these can also be used for selection. I can click on these and use them. I can also come up and just say, I want these fixtures, have full interaction options for all of that. The last one over here I want to show you is a focus handle concept. And what this allows me to do is not necessarily think about controlling my lights in pan and tilt anymore, but have direct access to moving the beam. So I can come in here, I've got all of my fixtures in their beam spot, and I want to take them and just move them upstage and over and back down around. So I can grab the beam. Notice it is taking all of the fixtures I have selected, so I can really control them in unison together. So if you've spent all of your time building that beautiful fan, and now I just need to move it upstage a little bit to be able to select that as a group, grab the beams and just move it. So pan and tilt is great until you have to do it diagonal. So giving us all the different ways to just manipulate that. Now, since this is based off selection, if I change my selection here, so 1 through 3, now I can just work with a singular group. I can really control that if I get that perfect focus, and now I just want to move it around. Really interactive and giving us a lot of power with that. Now, as we're working in more and more complicated spaces, seeing where your fixture is pointed becomes more and more important. And I don't know if you've ever done it, but I do this all the time where I'm trying to focus behind the couch and I'm standing up on my tiptoes and I can't quite see it. So we've added some tools to help with that. Probably one of my favorite features in all of Augment is this one. It's called Fixture Point of View. And what this allows you to do is a mode you can enable, and when I select the fixture, it puts the camera in the gate of the fixture so you can see exactly where it's focusing. And then I can come in here and pan and tilt around and see exactly where it is and really have a great new perspective to program from. And when I'm done with that, I can come back in here, turn that off, jump back into one of my bookmark locations and get right to work. So we've been working on this. This is a perfect, wonderful image. I'm going to go ahead and record this as my cue. Notice as soon as I record that, all of those focus handles change color. We're going to use the exact same color metaphor we've used throughout the desk. Red for manual, yellow for sub, blue and various other ones for cues. So you see exactly what's going on following all of that same data manipulation metaphors that we've always had. We've been working in live for a while now. Let's take a look in blind. So I'm going to jump in here. So right here I've come in, I see all of my blind information just like always. This is fantastic, but sometimes it's a little tricky to extrapolate. What exactly am I looking at? What is the next cue going to look like? So Augment3d actually follows the live and blind state of the desk. So I can come into blind here, I can next and last through all of my different cues. Wow, I've really recorded almost the exact same cue in all these demos today. So you can come through, see exactly where it is, what's next, where did I come from? Oh, I need to make a change in blind, but I really need to see exactly what I'm doing, giving us that concept of blind preview and modification that we've never really had before. So I'm going to jump back into live here. Let's just turn off this cue for a second. Grab a light, and I'm going to put it in a focus palette. And I want to talk to you a little bit about some changes that are also coming as part of this to our Android and iOS mobile applications. So let's go ahead and plug this in. Now, you'll notice down at the bottom of my stage here, I have an augmented reality target. This is basically a very fancy QR code. And inside of my model, I have placed the identical marker here. All you have to do is just tell the model where that is in the real space, just like our focus point positions. We're going to give you a number of these. You can stash them wherever you want in your venue. And then through the IRFR or ARFR, I now have a new tab called Wand. And what I can do here is come down, and I'm going to just scan that. It's going to find me. And this is the bridge between the physical and the virtual world. And I can look up, I can see my fixtures, I can select them, I can control them with some intensity, and I can say, great, I want these fixtures focused right here. And I can move them around, have individual control of them, and use this as a really quick tool to focus all of my lights. Now it's going to work with any intersection point you have in your model. So if I click over here, nothing's going to happen because I don't have anything to intersect with that. So you can use that to control exactly what you want to focus on. You can move this around, use this as a focus tool. We actually have some gestures. I showed you intensity. We can also do zoom with a pinch and a pull. This is the wand mode. We also have another one which is called Find Me. Hopefully you can all figure out what that means, and that is lights on me. So to be able to come into a space, quickly throw down your 4 focus palettes, use that to calculate where your fixtures are in the space, and walk around and say, great, lights on me, record focus palette number 1. Lights on me, record focus palette number 2, and so on and so forth as I walk around my space. Now, this might not be the 100% most accurate thing in the world, but it's an incredibly fast way to roughen your focus palettes. You can then go back to your console, use all of the tools we've always had for pan and tilt, and finish your focus to be able to really quickly have access to that. You can also come in and say, I think I'm going to want a focus palette right here, so I'm going to create a reference point. That's going to save that object. It'll show up in your augmented model, so you can have those points to select and interact with. But really, at the end of the day, this is just fun. Being able to come in and interact with your lights in such a quick and easy way. All right, so the last thing I want to talk to you a little bit about is where this is going to live in the EOS family, and when you can get your hands on it, probably the biggest question of all. So, as I mentioned, this is part of EOS 3.0. That is a free software update. This will be coming to all existing consoles as long as those consoles can be on Windows 7 or greater. We are deprecating support for Windows XP. It's a very hard decision, but it's been almost, 13 years. It's been a long time since EOS came out, so we did make that decision. With this, if your console has a display port on the back, then you'll be able to natively run Augmented on your console. It'll open in a tab, just kind of like I'm doing on this Nomad machine. If you take a look at this TI over here, that one is running Augmented natively. If you do not have a display port, or if you would like to run it externally, you'll be able to network in any Mac or PC, as long as it's Windows 7 or greater. So that's what we're doing on the FAR TI over there. So go ahead and take a look at the 2 different options when you get a second. Pretty much the only difference is how much graphical oomph do you want. These are powerful consoles. They are not powerful graphics machines. This is a really nice graphics laptop. Just being able to have that option, have it on an outboard system, or to have a little bit more graphics power. Feature-wise, there's no difference between whether you have it onboard or offboard. It's just what are your graphics going to be. We're only going to allow low and medium graphics settings on the desks, where you can go all the way up to ultra on the external machine. And that's just because they don't have strong graphics cards in them. If you want that option, you always have that. If you're working on Nomad, you have the option, like I'm showing you right now, just to natively put it directly in a tab, just like anything else. So lastly, just a reminder, EOS 3.0, we will be going to open beta at the turn of the year, and then releasing not long after that. If you are at all interested in helping us out with open beta, please make sure you stop by the reception desk. If you're interested about any of our products, make sure you get scanned, tell them you're interested, and we'll be reaching out for that. If there's any students here, if you haven't already, find out about our student panel that we're hosting this afternoon. Otherwise, all the consoles over here are running Augmented. I've got the focus wand up here if you want to come take a peek at that. And thank you very much and enjoy the rest of your afternoon.